You're listening to the Paranormal UK Radio Network. Yes, do you listen to the Paranormal UK Radio Network, Your Majesty?
Oh yes, most definitely, one has. Well, it'd be a very dull world otherwise, wouldn't it?
Twin Souls, hosted by myself, Ronnie, and my twin brother, Philip. Today we have a very special guest, Henry Phillip-Vige, and Henry will be talking about past life regression, along with Egyptology and also the orbs he's managed to photograph. I hope you will join us in welcoming him, and Henry is going to now start by explaining to us how he actually got involved with the supernatural.
Well, this whole subject has been such a journey for me from a young child growing up in a southern town in Louisiana, coming from a French background in the United States. It was quite interesting, to say the least. And of course, I was brought up in a very Catholic home and rigorous Catholic school, training, that kind of a thing. But I always felt different. I never felt that I belonged, even to my family. I almost felt that I was adopted. And it wasn't because of the way that they were treating me. It was just, I didn't feel that I fit in with my family. And I always would run off as a child to play alone. And I would always have these entities, I'll call them, who were like what I thought at the time were imaginary friends. Because when you're growing up, your parents, of course, they tell you that that doesn't exist, or you were just imagining things, and that sort of problem for a child to understand that. So I wasn't getting any validation from, of course, my parents, and I continued to play alone. I mean, I played very well with other children, but I always felt a pull to go off and be alone. And these entities were extremely loving and very, very caring. They would show me things about nature. They would instruct me. It was all telepathic, talking about, the plants and the flowers and the earth and how much we have to take care of the earth. And it's our responsibilities to do these things in our lives. And of course, at that time, we're talking probably, I would say, late 50s was the time, early 60s when all this was happening. And of course, there was nothing as today with anything paranormal being discussed, or even anything of an extraterrestrial circumstance. So this was all something that I kept secret to myself. And I grew up with this, but I felt very comfortable about it. And then there was a time period when they sort of stopped coming around. I think it was because I was growing up and finding out who I was as a human being on this planet. And then later in life, I started having interest in these paranormal activities, and of course any type of extraterrestrial beings that could be existing in our universe, of course, which that subject is quite a bone of contention in a lot of circles, because many people don't even believe this. I've just fervently believe that this is just how things are. And I think people are ignorant when they don't stop to open their minds to the possibilities. And I really think it's a sad state for our world that the norm is to disbelieve and not give the opportunities to have the information portrayed, not only in an intelligent way, but also in a very reassuring way to let people know that they're not crazy if they've seen UFOs or if they've had contact with extraterrestrials, which is commonplace. And many, many people today have had these experiences. So as I grew up, I, of course, went through the teenage years, that kind of thing, and then into young adulthood. And I always wanted to move away. So I finally, in my years of traveling as a young adult, I ended up in California. And that's really where I became inducted into the metaphysical world. And from a young age, I had this fascination with Egypt. I don't even know where it came from because I wasn't exposed to it at home. I would go into my dad's office and sit on the floor and go through an encyclopedia collection that he had and just looking for photos or drawings of anything of Egyptian subject matter or even ancient societies like Rome or Mesopotamia, Babylon, anything like that. I was always fascinated with ancient cultures and not even understanding why, because I wasn't exposed to this as a child through my family or even at school. I mean, we did have history at school, but they didn't delve into great detail about ancient history. So after I moved to California, I had the opportunity to interact with certain people that were like-minded myself. And I would go to these group meetings. And I met this little lady one evening. I was at this lady's home for these meetings. And this little short lady, I mean, very short, abnormally short. I thought she was a child when I first saw her, and I had never seen her before. And she came up to me and she said, "How are you?" And she reached out to take my hand. And I'm looking at this woman, and I gave her my hand, and I said, "I'm fine, how are you?" And she said, "Oh, you don't remember me, do you?" And I said, "No, ma'am, I'm sorry, I don't. Do we know one another?" And she said, "Well, that was a very long time ago." She said, "I was a boy in that life." She said, you designed our home in ancient Egypt." She said, "You were very, very close with the Pharaoh. And she said, they murdered you because they were jealous of you." And I said, "Really?" And of course, I'm standing there going, this woman's crazy. I'm thinking, I don't even know this woman. So she starts to describe this house. And when I was a child, I had a recurring dream of this beautiful house. It was an Egyptian-styled house with a center courtyard, et cetera, and this woman was describing this exact house that I had in my dreams as a child. And it was just, I was riveted. I almost just couldn't believe it. And so we chatted for quite a while, and then I walked off. I went to talk with someone else, and I couldn't find this woman after that. It's like she disappeared. It's like she was gone. And I asked several people at the meeting, I said, "Have you seen the little lady that was here?" And they go, "No, we haven't seen anyone by that description." And I asked just about everyone, and they were all, "No, we haven't seen anyone that looked like that." So I don't know if she just appeared, spoke to me to validate my, what I experienced, and then left, because I've had that happen many times before with experiences, having people appear to me and then leave, vanish.
You're talking about past lives and reincarnation, aren't you, Henry?
A past life memory, exactly. And so when I recently went to Egypt in 2012, I went on a tour with my brother, and Carmen Bolter, who has done the Pyramid Code, which is a documentary on sort of an avant-garde look at ancient Egypt. And she has become a personal friend of mine. But we went on this Egyptian tour with her. She spearheaded the group. And there were quite a few of us. There were around 80 people. And this was back in 2012, right after the Arab Spring. And of course, people were very, very leery of going to the Middle East because of this situation. And we were asked by, of course, family and friends to please not go to Egypt. And we were assured by Dr. Bolter and, of course, other people that it was safe and that we would be okay. So we get there and everything is absolutely fine. I mean, the Egyptian people were absolutely beautiful people and very kind and very sweet and very hospitable. And, they tell us here in the States that they hate us and, they hate America and death to America, that kind of thing. And it was totally different. It was not like that at all. And they talked about rioting and, they were burning buildings and all that. And there was nothing going on. I mean, nothing at all. It was perfectly normal. People would smile, they'd wave at you. When we're on the bus, little kids would run and say hi and those kind of things. So it really just broke my heart that we were being given such a negative view of relations with a country that is so ancient and has so much to offer people, today. And so our trip was just amazing. And we went to several ancient sites, of course, as Dr. Bolter has done this for 30-something years now. Anyway, so we went to the mortuary complex of Hatshepsut, the female pharaoh of Amenhotep, I think is his name, was the pharaoh at the time. She was married to him and he passed away, and she, of course, took control of the throne because the son was very young at the time. Anyway, it was very controversial. And I always had such a feeling about Hatshepsut, and I never understood what that was. So we get to the site, and we're walking up the ramp to the temple, and the tears are just rolling down my face. And I just couldn't imagine, why was I crying? And in my mind, I could see it the way it was. It was so beautiful with all the trees and all the beautiful fountains and just the spectacular statuary and the colors. And it was just magnificent. And my brother was with me and he said, "What's wrong?" And I said, "I really don't know. I can't imagine why I'm crying." And so I had such an amazing reaction to that site. And I'm firmly believing, and I've been told, in readings, that I was the architect for the site, and I was very close with Hatshepsut. And I'm thinking that maybe that is where this little lady that told me that they murdered me, that could be the time period. I'm not definitely sure, but it feels right. It really feels right in my heart. I feel that this is probably the time. But anyway, so of course we went to other sites as well, and it was the same thing, and not as emotional. But I could see all these different sites as they were at the time of their apex, and just absolutely magnificent. And it's so sad. And I had said to Dr. Bolter, I said, it's so sad that look what's left. And she said, just be glad that there's anything left. She said, there could be nothing left. She said, look what they did to Akhenaten's city. They totally dismantled it and destroyed it. There's really, I think the only thing left of Akhenaten, the heretic, they call him Pharaoh, the only thing left to his city is, I think, a column and maybe some foundational work or that kind of thing, because they defaced everything and just took everything apart and wanted to eradicate him from history. So there's so much of that, in Egypt, that, you have the Coptic Christians that would go around defacing the walls of the temples. And so it's just so sad, because there's so much beauty in Egypt, and there's just so much knowledge, and there's so much to learn. And I encourage everyone that can to visit Egypt, because it is an absolute exhilarating experience. We actually went into the Great Pyramid, and in the King's Chamber in particular, we had a couple of minutes just to lie within the quote-unquote sarcophagus in the King's Chamber. And so when it was my turn to lie in the sarcophagus, the electrical energy that went up and down my spine was just unbelievable. And I was like, is there something connect? I felt like there was cables connected to the box or something. It felt that real. And when I got out of the box, I looked at one of the tour guides and I said, I felt electricity go up and down my spine. He goes, yeah, a lot of people feel that. Yeah, and I said, you're kidding. He goes, no, not at all. So I went to sit with the rest of our group in the King's Chamber, and we were told explicitly, no chanting, no meditating, no funny business. You can't play music. You can't do anything weird because we'll get thrown out. So everyone, was sitting around, and so I went next to a friend of mine, and we were sitting, on the floor, and something told me just to lie down in my mind. So I lied down, and I immediately went to sleep. And so the next thing I noticed, this woman is like tugging at my foot saying, "Come on, get up, we have to go." So I shook myself and I stood up and I was like, "Oh my God, I cannot believe I fell asleep." And I mean, I was out, like in a second, I just was out. So we're leaving the King's Chamber, and I made a comment. I said, "I cannot believe I fell asleep." And this woman at the front, she said, "You were the one that was snoring?" So I was really out. So I told Dr. Bolter about it, and she said, in the 30-something years that I have been to Egypt, I have never heard of anyone falling asleep in the King's Chamber. She said, "You were doing some download in that room." She said, "There is so much energy that there is no way that you could just fall asleep." She said, "There was a purpose for you sleeping, and you probably received a big download." And then when I was sitting the first time before I even fell asleep, I meant to say this, I heard this chanting, or what sounded like this incredible chanting. And I looked at the girl next to me and I said, "I thought we weren't supposed to chant." And she said, "We're not." And I said, "Well, who's chanting?" She said, "Oh no, that's the sound of the pyramid. The Great Pyramid has this vibration that sounds like a chanting. It is the most beautiful sound." And I was flabbergasted. I said, "You mean to tell me this is the emission from the pyramid?" She said, "Absolutely." So I discussed that with Dr. Bolter later, and she said, "Oh yeah," she said, "they've even made recordings of it, the sounds of the energy vibration of the Great Pyramid." So we went on a cruise up to the Aswan area to see Abu Simbel. And of course, that's quite a ways away from Cairo. The main areas were around Cairo, Giza, Saqqara, and all those different areas. But so we went on this cruise, and it was really beautiful. The Nile is just gorgeous. And I had a dream on the boat. And I dreamed that I was with my brother and this other girl that was on the trip with us. And we're in this stone room. And I looked down, and I could see, I had brought a pair of beach flip-flops with me to walk inside. Not to have, because I hate wearing shoes. That's another thing. I prefer being barefoot than anything. And people have told me that's a past life Egyptian thing. So in this dream, I look down at my feet and I see my flip-flops. And the next thing I know, I start rising off of the floor and I start flying around the room. And I see my brother and this girl looking up at me like, "What the hell are you doing?" And I start chanting these like, this weird stuff that I have no idea where that came from. And then the next thing I know, the ceiling has totally evaporated, and it's this daytime sky with the sun. It was the most remarkable thing I've ever dreamed in my life. And it reminded me that when I think I was 15 years old, I was in my bedroom and I was falling asleep, and I always slept on my side. But this one particular evening, something in my mind said, "Just lie on your back." So I was lying on my back, going to sleep. And when you're in the alpha stage of sleep where you're very relaxed, but you're still aware of the room. You can still see the room, even as you're going to sleep. You can see stuff in the room, like I could see through my bedroom door that led off of the living room in our home. I could see a light that shone from the kitchen door that illuminated half of the wall. And all of a sudden, I heard these 3 loud bangs on the outside of the house. And I thought to myself, what is that? And then the next thing I heard was a voice in my ear that whispered my name. And then immediately I had sleep paralysis. I could not move. I was petrified. I mean, I tried to move and I couldn't, and I felt the pressure get stronger and stronger and stronger. And as I fought, I started lifting off of the bed. And I remember seeing the ceiling coming closer and closer to my face. And I'm struggling and I'm trying to say, God help me, because I didn't understand what was going on. And all of a sudden, this mask, some kind of a masked face, came out at the ceiling at me. And I, of course, then woke up on the bed and I was soaking wet in sweat. The bed was totally wet, and I didn't wet myself. It was sweat. It was pouring out of my pores. I mean, my hands were sweating and my feet and everything. It was just the most unbelievable thing. And then in a later reading, when I was a young adult, a lady told me, she said, you were trying to astral project and you were fighting it. She said, you do a lot of astral travel, but she said you were probably, scared, and that's why you had that experience. And she said your body reacted with the sweating. She said it's just a sort of a reaction to the emotional trauma of it. It can be extremely emotional for someone that doesn't understand. Of course, I was like 15 years old. What did I know, as far as that goes? But, so many times I just really, my learning and my research into the paranormal, into extraterrestrials, which I feel are just the most amazing phenomena in our world today, and I think they're so misunderstood. There is that element of those extraterrestrials that do not have the best intentions, but I think the majority are here to help, and they want to help, and I think they're here to also learn from and through us about the universe and how our world works and how 3D density works. And we're such a miracle spirit within physicality, experiencing the creational force of manifestation. And most people don't understand that. And it's very important that people get very clear that we do create our lives and we do create our worlds through our thoughts and our intentions. And most people would be far happier if they would get that, if they would just realize and take responsibility for the fact that no one's doing anything to you. It's because you have wrong thinking that things aren't working out, or that you're having unhappiness or whatever. And then the flip of that coin is when you do have wonderful things happen to you in your life, it's because you are, creating that, and that you are well adjusted, and that you understand the dynamics of manifestation. But the main thing that I have been concentrating on is the love aspect, and it's such an important element that we understand, not the ego human term love. That is a totally different, it's part of it, but it's not the whole picture. And I think all of creation, the force of creation, is the true meaning of love. And I think that's what animates everything.
Yes, I was just going to say, Henry, that I saw a medium myself 20 years ago, and she told me that I was once an Egyptian myself. In fact, I was a counselor for the pharaoh, along with many others, and I was killed in an architectural disaster when the newly created building went down. We were instructed by the pharaoh to visit it, as he was too busy, to monitor its progress and to give a report. So all I saw in this vision was this huge, massive granite block fall towards us, and of course it hit us and killed us instantly. So yes, when you're talking about reincarnation, I've had past life regression myself, and that's what I saw, and it was very visual, very, very visual.
Yeah, that's amazing. Your story is just compelling, because what a traumatic thing to happen, to have your life cut short because of an accident, and to have that memory that's just so vivid,
What were you experiencing when you were lying within the king's chamber, Henry? What did you see? You talk about a download. Can you explain?
I think what I was picking up on was the true essence of what the pyramid was for. I really believe that the Great Pyramid, this complex on Giza, was not a burial thing. I really don't think that that's the true meaning of what the purpose of this building was. When you go into this building, you feel like it's a machine. It has absolutely nothing that makes you think of a burial chamber. The only thing that's remotely, in any context, sort of like a burial theme, would be the big granite box that they call the sarcophagus. And it's really not a sarcophagus. That room, that king's chamber, is so amazing. The granite that lines the walls is so smooth. It is like machine polished, and it is just perfection. Most of the Egyptian buildings and, of course, monuments, etc., are absolute perfection. How they did these these incised hieroglyphs and imagery on these walls is beyond me. There is nothing short. Well, it has to be some type of technology. There is no way that they sat there with a copper chisel and a wooden mallet or whatever they claim they use to do this type of precision. I mean, it's ludicrous to even entertain that.
Could it be possible that they had help? I'm talking about an extraterrestrial kind of intervention.
I believe that. I believe they were way more advanced than we give them credit. We tend to, poo-poo the fact of, the ancients were, they were ignorant and, they were more, they were less sophisticated. And I think it's just the opposite. I think we're the ones that are less sophisticated. And I think we could learn a great deal from the ancient cultures if we just stop being so arrogant and so idiotic in our attitude.
Do you feel that the Egyptian authorities have made it a policy to dismiss the UFO hypothesis as this degrades the alleged efforts of their ancestral dynasty?
Absolutely. You're absolutely correct. And the thing is that the mainstream archaeology field and, of course, anthropology and, of course, our history, they don't want to admit that. They want to conjure up some ridiculous story, and they want to shorten the time frame. They want to make it look like it's only 4,000 years. I mean, it's hundreds of thousands or millions of years that human beings have been on this planet, and it's just ignorant to want to use the quote unquote Victorian mindset about the world. We're still living really under a Victorian mindset. I mean, look how we look at sexuality and religion and just different ways. Even our governments, how they run society. It's very archaic. It just doesn't make sense to me that we as a people can't see through the veil. But the veil it's lifting. The veil is lifting, and I think people are seeing the truth. I mean, here in our own country, unfortunately, we're going through such a mess of, political differences and diversity and division. It's sad. It's just really sad, and it's so unnerving to know that within a matter of 2 years, your country can be almost unrecognizable. It's frightening, and it's frightening to see people that believe in that type of division. I mean, it's like their avarice. They're feeding on this negative energy, and it's just so disgusting to me that people could just devolve to that state. Yeah, it's just really sad.
Can you elaborate more on the origins of your encounters and experiences, Henry? You photographed orbs.
Yes, well, actually, the first time that I ever had an experience with I call them spheres. These entities, when I was a child, they were always holding these glowing spheres. I called them balls when I was a kid, I thought it was like a play toy. And I asked one of them if I could hold it, and he said no. He said it's too powerful. Anyway, so I even did a drawing. I did a religious drawing of the Madonna and Child, and I had rays of her third eye shooting out of her forehead. And I had these beings behind her holding these spheres with these wings on their heads. And I had the child Jesus holding one of these spheres as well. And then when I went to Egypt, I was at a place called Abu Ghurab, and it's a very old site. It's probably one of the most sacred sites in Egypt, in ancient Egypt. There was a sun temple located there, and it was the site of the largest obelisk in all of ancient Egypt. The only thing that remains is ruins of the base of the obelisk. The obelisk is no longer there. But it's right next to the Saqqara area, outside of Cairo. But there is a quartz crystal altar that is still there, and it is quite amazing. It's just beautiful, and you can sit on it. It's not open. This area is not open to the public at all. You have to have special dispensation from the antiquities department to get, access with guides to go to this area. So it's not a regular area that you would see in Egypt if you were just a regular tourist. Anyway, at this site, I took my camera and I just inadvertently put it over my head, and I started clicking, not even looking into the viewer, just clicking, because something told me, you're going to capture something, just start taking pictures of the sky, and I did. So, of course, we were so busy with our schedule, all I had time to do to download the photos off of the camera onto my laptop when we'd go back to the hotel. I didn't have time to view all the photos because I had thousands of photos. So when I finally got back to the States and I sat down and was viewing the photos, I saw the ones that I took over Abu Ghurab. And it was a beautiful day, brilliant sun, beautiful blue sky, white clouds, just gorgeous. And there was this blue sphere that was playing cat and mouse behind the clouds. And so I have, I think, a series of 4 or 5 photographs showing it behind the clouds, and then it shows itself full force.
We'll include some of your images on social sites so people can see what you've captured.
Absolutely. I would love for you to do that because they're quite beautiful, and it was just the most gorgeous blue that I've ever seen. And it was, it wasn't a reflection. It wasn't a spot on the lens, how some people say, oh, that's just a spot on the lens, or that's a speck of something from the sun. No, it's generating its own light. It is just illuminating on its own, and it's got this purple sort of haze that is around the blue. And it's just the most incredible thing. Well, you see this place, Abu Ghurab, where I was taking the photos, is known as a stargate. So this could very well be a pathway. This blue sphere could actually even be the stargate that I captured. I don't know. I really don't know, because I haven't done much research in getting experts to, not only look at the photo, but to maybe sort of figure out maybe possibly if this could actually be a doorway to another dimension. And it very well could be. Everybody has an opinion, you know what I mean?
Do you feel, Henry, that people are opening up more to the fact of UFO intervention and of past assistance from extraterrestrials?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the thing is that I think more and more as time goes on, more people are becoming aware that there's something more. There's something more than what we're being told. I think people are waking up. I really believe that people are finally waking up. Of course, I feel that there's a tremendous amount of new energy permeating the earth right now, and I think that it's activating things within people. And if it doesn't make you question, it makes you feel that there's something not right. That that you have to figure out, why does this not feel right, on a personal level. I think all of us have our own individual journeys, but we are all here together doing this. So we do have a bit of a, obligation to each other to do the best we can for ourselves, but for everyone else. And I really think that that's something that we're going to have to get real clear with as we go on as a civilization, because at the rate it's going, we're going to go nowhere fast. I mean, we have to really get serious about our progression and our evolution and our consciousness to become higher, because, you can't function in a world that focuses on consumerism What party do you belong to? What race are you? I mean, how ridiculous. I mean, come on. This is we're almost in 2019. I mean, you would think that we would have grown more by this time.
It's a blessing that we have people like you to share such fascinating accounts, not only regarding UFOs, but also of past life regression and of the influence it's had on you.
Absolutely. And I have to thank both of you for, taking the courage to do the work that you're both doing, because it's just beautiful, and you're helping so many people.
Your Egyptian experiences, Henry, are very fascinating. I do recall a time when Grandad, we were staying with both Grandad and Grandma, and he said something very bizarre to us. I mean, Grandad was very level-headed, as a knowledgeable man, but he just turned round to us and said one day, "Do you know the pyramids of Giza were built by aliens?" I have to say, I almost fell off my chair. But he's visited the world. He's even seen them. He visited them. And he said when he saw the crude tools used to actually allegedly construct them, or to actually chisel away or carve away at the granite, he said that was impossible. The one thing that Grandad did say to me at the time, this was about 1983, was that in order to do that effectively, they would have required a diamond-tipped drill or, as he added, a laser cutter.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you saying that. And it's so interesting that you're speaking about the Egyptian connection, because recently I had what I would call a higher realm reading. This friend of mine, a lady that I met through my brother, a very, very nice lady, and she's extremely gifted with her vision. She said, "I would love to do a higher realm reading for you." And I said, "Okay." So she did the reading, and then she called me and said, "I'd like to relay what I've experienced." And I said, "Okay." So she said, "I immediately was engulfed with the most incredible, powerful energy of love." She said, "I've never felt this before." And she said it was just so amazing. And she said, "This is what I was told to tell you." So if it's okay, I'd like to read to you what she said. She says, "I am here for you, my son. You have traveled far to the land of your soul's incarnations, from being a loyal scribe to being a king to being a laborer. The land of Kemet, which is the name of ancient Egypt. They used to call it Kemet, but this woman didn't know this. She said, the land of Kemet has held many lives. Bring forward the sacred teaching of the initiate. Remember the knowledge lost to you. I see you retrieving your soul's desires in this lifetime. For now is the time to retrieve. Teach, gather initiates as once before. Test each to remember to take oath again. Take oath, take heart, and take soul, as in the great chamber once again you traveled home. Great forsaken knowledge lies buried to be discovered again. You will journey again. You are uncovering more of the chapters to your soul's book. You have traveled the halls of Amentia, home to Kemet. Teach, I cry out to you. Enlighten as never before, for weep I do for mankind. Fears of the past have created great rivers of lost souls. The doorway has opened. Step through, surrender unto your path, surrender to your soul's purpose, surrender into this now. As never before, you must step up to lead as you have in the past. Remember this sacred power, for now there will be no persecution, no judgment, only great salvation. The time to harvest the souls, ready to advance beyond this veil of limiting density, to move to be closer to the source of all that is. Guidance is needed now more than in any past incarnation, for now you may stand as a glorious army of one. Step into the knowledge, for before you lies your destiny in this life. I see you are doing the work. You are awakened to follow the messages that have been brought forth. Technologies have brought many to the knowledge lost through incarnations. Remember you will. Past lives will come flooding back. Sit in quiet meditation and connect to all that is, for there is the telling, for there you will find the key to all that is. I envelop you with my gratitude and undying love. Centuries of holding you dear, rise now, my son, and step into your mantle of truth. Go with my blessings always and in all ways. And this was from, she calls herself the Divine Mother of All. Yeah, I really was quite taken aback, and I started thinking, what would have given me this connection with this entity? And back in the 1970s, I visited England for the first time, and I had a very dear friend who lived on the outskirts of London somewhere, I can't remember exactly where, and there was a clairvoyant that she would go to see, a spiritualist. And so I told her, I said, I want to go to this spiritualist, when I come to visit. She said, okay. So she drove me to the lady's house, and she said, just ring me and I'll come collect you. I said, okay. So I go in the house, met this lady, very nice little lady. She looked like a little ant. She didn't look like, she didn't have a turban on and a crystal ball. She looked like she should have had a plate of cookies for me or a glass of milk, kind of a thing. Anyway, very sweet lady. And she started reading and she said, oh my, she said, you have so many guides around you. I've never seen so many guides. I said, really? She said, oh, yes. And she said, they love you very much and they want you to know that they protect you and guide you all the time. I said, oh, well, thank you. She said, yes. She said, she said, they really want you to get that they are with you all the time. And you really have to know that they guide you and blah, 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 blah. So anyway, so we had this reading, and then she told me about this relationship I was involved in, and it was going to have to end. And she said, you're not going to want it to end, but it's going to have to end. And all that did happen. But anyway, so when it came time for me to leave, I paid her the money. In fact, I think I gave her double what she was charging. She said, let me get you some change. And I said, oh, no, that's fine. And so she said, do you want to ring Valerie? And I said, no, I think I'm just going to walk. And she said, are you sure? And I said, yeah, I'm just going to walk. And I don't know why I said that because I had no idea where I was. So I start walking down her sidewalk and she's waving to me off her porch. And I make a left and it's like hands were on my shoulders. And I would go left here, go right here, go left here, go right. I walked right up to Valerie's front door and rang the doorbell. And she came to the door and she says, oh my God, how did you get here? I said, I walked. She says, that's impossible. You don't know where you are. I said, I know. And she said, oh my God, I have to sit down. So I think that was their way of letting me know without a doubt that I was being guided and protected by these, and I think they're entities. I think they're guides, but I think they're extraterrestrials. I think they're beings that are with me, and they've been with me since birth. And I'll also share another thing with you. When I should have been killed several times, and I'm not saying that in jest. One time I was driving back to California, and I was in my Jeep, and I was going through Banning, California, and it's an area where there are a lot of these big trucks that travel, and these trucks are going like 100 miles an hour. I'm not kidding you. And there's so many of them. It's frightening. Well, there was one big truck. I guess you call them a trolley in England. I'm not sure exactly what you call them. We call them semis, but there are the big trucks that deliver all the goods and stuff. And this one had another. It was pulling a second one, so it was two. And I was on the inside of the road by the divider, and the force of the truck was so strong, my Jeep hit the divider and bounced off of it, and I flipped over and skidded in the middle of the highway. Okay? No, when I tell you this happened so fast and it was so traumatic, I was like, oh my God. And I'm trying to open the door to get out, and I'm waiting for, bam, this truck or something to hit me because I had flipped over. And I mean, these trucks are going 900 miles an hour. It's ridiculous how fast they go. So, and I'm pulling on the door and I'm saying, God, please help me. God, please help me. I mean, I'm like screaming for help to God. And all of a sudden the door opens, a hand reaches down, grabs me, pulls me through the door. I get out, I get out of the Jeep, and it's a guy, and then there's another guy in front of the Jeep flagging the trucks around the Jeep. And he helps me out of the Jeep, and my elbow had gotten scraped and it was bleeding, and it was a pretty bad scrape. I mean, I needed stitches and that kind of thing. And he said, "Oh, you're going to have that looked after." He said, "We've called the state police, so they're going to be coming to help you." And then the other guy came and they turned the Jeep over and rolled it off the highway. And there was another girl with them. Now these guys were like in blue jeans and white T-shirts. So was the girl. And they were very nice, very nondescript though. And they were driving a white pickup truck. So immediately the state trooper arrived and he said something to me, and I turned to thank them and they were gone. It's like they disappeared, literally. I'm not kidding you. And it was like, and I looked at the state trooper and I said, "Where did they go?" And he goes, "Who?" I said, "Those people." I said, "The two guys." And he said, "I didn't see anybody." And I said, "You're kidding me." And of course, I'm thinking, okay, maybe they drove off and I just thought it was long. Maybe it was longer than I thought it was or whatever. But anyway, so that was one incident. The second time, I was driving back from California to visit family in Louisiana. I was in Texas. And I was running out of gas, and I had a 5-gallon gas can in the Jeep to go through the desert. And all these gas stations were closed, and it was only 10 o'clock at night, and I'm thinking, I'm off of an interstate highway, and I'm like, why are there no gas stations open? So I thought, I'm going to have to get off at the next exit, pull over, and then fill the Jeep with this gas I have in this can, and then I can maybe get closer to Houston or wherever, a bigger city. So I get out of the Jeep, and I'm filling the Jeep up, and this car starts coming around, driving very slow. And I'm doing the gas, and I'm thinking, oh God, who is that? And they were like checking me out. They were like checking out the situation. The next thing I know, I feel cold metal in my neck. And I hear click, click, click. It was a gun. And I hear this voice say, "Give me all your money or I'm going to blow your head off." And I'm like, I don't have any money. I said, "I really don't have much money." Well, I lied. I did have money, but it was in my breast pocket of this coat I had on. And if I gave him all of that, I would be stranded. I wouldn't have any way to get home. And so I had some change, a few dollars in my pocket, where you put your hands. And so he starts going through my pockets, and it's like $8 or whatever. So he grabs it and he goes, "Get in your Jeep and put your head down. I'm gonna blow your brains out." So I was like, oh my God. So I put my head down, and I'm just praying to God, and I'm thinking, okay, this is it. Just make it quick. Just make it quick. So he leaves, and literally I was frozen stiff. I could not move. I was like glued into my seat. I was so scared. I was shaking. I had never had that happen to me before, and I thought I was going to get killed. I really did. So then the next thing I know, they're coming back. I see the car coming back, and I think, oh God, they're coming back to kill me because they don't want witnesses. So I just put my head down, and I'm praying, and I'm like, okay, just make it quick, just make it quick. And I hear a voice say, "Hey," and I pick up my head and I look, to the passenger side, and there's the guy with the money in his hand. And he goes, "Here, take your money." I went, "Oh no, you can have it." And he goes, "No, I don't want it." And he threw it in the Jeep, and he goes, "I'm a junkie, but I'm a Christian, and I can't leave you stranded with no money." And then he ran back in the car and they took off. And I'm sitting there going, okay, what just happened? I just got robbed and they brought the money back to me? Whoever has that happen? I've never heard of anyone getting robbed and then they bring you the money back to you. So I'm thinking what happened was something or someone made him realize what he did and how terrible that was to do that to an innocent person who hadn't done anything to him. And as far as he knew, I was going to be stranded, So, I think it was a life-changing experience for him, too. I think it was beneficial also for him in his life. So, it just goes without saying. But, the thing is, life is what you make it. And you have to take these experiences and you have to really give them deep, deep, profound consideration, whatever it is. I mean, we take so much for granted. We really do. We take life for granted. I mean, every day that we wake up is a blessing. It's a miracle. I mean, really. I mean,
it's been a pleasure having you here to share your wonderful experiences with our listeners. It's been a wonderful insight.
Well, thank you. I'm so happy to have had the opportunity, and, you guys have been so fabulous, and, getting to know you has been a pleasure. And thank you again for all your beautiful work to enlighten people and to bring more understanding in a troubled world.
Now, Henry, can you tell us how people can contact you?
Well, they can, like I said, I'm on Facebook, and my email is philvige@aol.com. They can send me an email. I mean, I'll talk to anybody. I mean, if they have any kind of experiences they want to share that they've been through, sometimes these types of shows enlighten people and give them the courage to speak out about what they've experienced.
And what are your plans for the future, Henry?
Well, actually, I'm in process. I've been, I'm an artist as well, and I've been doing a lot of, I call them intuitive paintings, and I've been told by many mediums that they're healing paintings, and they're going to be instrumental in healing people's chakras. And right now, I'm kind of in a conundrum because I don't have a place to paint. So I kind of had to wait on, going further with the paintings. But that's something that I just do. I mean, to be honest with you, the process is so bizarre. I just get the tools and I start painting, and I have no idea what I'm going to paint. I have no idea what it's going to look like. I just know when to stop. And it's all guided. I mean, it's an incredible experience to go through. And I've had people tell me that the paintings move. I've had several intuitives tell me, this painting's moving. And I said, it is? She goes, it's moving. I said, oh, okay. So that's kind of interesting. So, we'll see how that goes. Hopefully that I'll be able to help people through the art and, help them to understand what they go through too.
We would love to have you back on the show at some point, Henry, to catch up with your future developments.
Yes, anytime. I'm available. Just let me know when and where. Thank you, Ronnie. Thank you, Philip. It was a pleasure.
And just to remind our listeners that my twin brother, Ronald Kinsella, he's going to be releasing very soon a science fiction stroke horror novel called The Archons through Amazon. The book's been 3 years in the making, and so look out for that. And there'll be posts coming up with regards to that project. And you've been listening to Twin Souls in association with the Paranormal UK radio network. Thank you, Ronnie, my co-host, and also to Henry, whom we appreciate for sharing his amazing knowledge and experiences. Thank you for tuning in, and be safe. God bless.
You're listening to the Paranormal UK radio network, the best in paranormal talk radio in the UK and around the world.
Did you ever turn to your radio for your favorite talk show to find that it's been preempted for this?
In the air, to deep right center, back goes Lewis to the wall, and it's out of here!
Or this?
And I'm ashamed of you, Hillary, for voting for it.
Do you have a favorite talk radio program that's not available in your city? Just go to TalkStreamLive.com for links to the best streaming talk radio shows. At TalkStream Live, you will find live talk shows 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All your favorites are here. With such a large selection, you will also discover some new favorites. On the go and still want to listen? With the mobile smartphone, simply type TalkStream Live on your internet browser. Now you can take internet radio with you. You will also find news and sports streams. Best of all, the TalkStream Live directory is free and there's never a login required. Remember TalkStreamLive.com, the fastest route between you and your favorite talk radio show.
Are you experiencing the strange and paranormal in your home or business? Do you feel that unseen forces are at work around you? Are you looking for answers? Spirit Rescue International is here to help. Spirit Rescue International is a non-profit organization that is dedicated to helping people around the world with their paranormal issues. Our trained team of experienced scientific researchers, psychics, and remote viewers work together to find the root cause of your issue and help find the best solution for our clients. Spirit Rescue International specializes in spirit rescue, helping those lost souls in need to cross over to the other side, as well as clearing negative phenomenon or explaining benign natural forces to ease the minds of our clients. Our team examines all aspects of each individual case discreetly and free of charge. For more information about Spirit Rescue International and our services, please visit our website at www.spiritrescueint.com. That's spiritrescueint.com.
Have you ever wanted to visit the south of Italy? Amalfi, Ravello, Positano, Sorrento, places of immense beauty on the Amalfitana coast. Nearby Vesuvius stands proud against the sky, shadowing the ancient Roman ruins of Pompeii. In the midst of all this beauty lies the picturesque hillside village of Pontoni that dates back to the Middle Ages. Stay in Pontoni, in the self-catering apartments of Il Petrale, the beautiful casa belonging to Carmiana Respoli, who will warmly welcome you when you arrive. Il Petrale, a haven of peace in the heart of this magnificent place called Pontoni. For more information, email us at carminerispoli@email.it. That's Carmine Rispoli, CarmineRispoli @email.it.
.com and click on the link in the menu for Collecting Stories Strange Encounters and tell us all about your strange encounters with the unknown. All submissions will be reviewed and those selected will be appearing in a